Hey everybody, KC here. So you may have seen some stories about how Stop Shop opened a brand new store in Allston, Massachusetts. And it's gotten a lot of press locally. It's across the street from a now closed and rather old Stop Shop. It's a really interesting development, Allston Yards, right near New Balance headquarters, just a little bit west of Boston. And so, I dump on Stop Shop a lot. And so I thought, in the interest of fairness, I would take the drive up from Connecticut and see what's going on. So I'm going to find a parking space and we'll go inside and we'll see what's happening. Okay, so now you've had a chance to look at the store a little bit. Let me give you a couple of details about it. It's a little over 50,000 square feet, and it's in this mixed-use development called Allston Yards. In fact, you may hear some noise in the background, and that's a building that's going in right next door. Basically, there's offices here. Like I said before, there's New Balance headquarters. There's a lot of residences. Basically, what they're estimating is at some point there'll be as many as 70,000 people living in this general area. And roughly half of them or even more will be 35 years or under. You got to assume those people have some money, right? This is Boston. Nothing is cheap in Boston. And so that's the kind of environment that they've opened the store in. Now, I'm going to say this. It's a nice enough store. It really is. And it's certainly better than a lot of the Stop and Shop stores that I've seen out and around as I traveled through New England. But then again, it's important to point out that this store is about a dozen miles from the company's headquarters in Quincy. And it's always been my experience that if you want to see the nicest store in any given company, you usually want to check out the one that's closest to headquarters, or at least relatively close to headquarters. It's always the nicest store. The nicest Walmarts are in Arkansas. The nicest Targets are in Minnesota. The nicest Krogers are pretty much always in Cincinnati, or at least in the Ohio area, because the people working there know that the boss could come in anytime. So that's just a basic reality. The thing about this store is it's big, but it feels bigger, and I'm not sure that's a good thing for this store. There's no sense of intimacy. There's no sense of energy. This store is similar in some ways to the Riverfront store that the Giant Company opened in Philadelphia. I did a story about it a couple of years ago. That store has been open for about 3 years. But that store, for some reason, just seemed like it had a lot more energy. It seemed more intimate. There was a lot more going on, and there was certainly greater connectivity when it comes to the people who were working in the store. This store is very focused on self-service. There's a small service seafood department that you saw, but there's no service meat at all. A little bit of a service bakery, a little bit of a service deli, and there's a Starbucks. For the most part, this is self-service. And in all likelihood, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get away from the things that cost a lot of money and make it as self-service as possible. One of the things that really bothered me about this, and this is also different than the Philadelphia Giant store that I talked about, is this store basically has no discernible connection to Boston. This store could be in Oklahoma City, it could be in Boise, it could be in Dallas. There's no sense of it, at least in my walking around the store, no sense that this is a Boston store. No Red Sox signs, no Patriots signs, no Celtics signs. It's interesting to me how basically vague and sort of vanilla it was. Lots of long aisles, lots of dark ceilings. But to me, as I go through this store, this is a corporate store. This is developed by a kind of groupthink. There's no magic. There's no pizzazz. Like I said, I started out by saying it's a nice enough store, but it's only nice enough. And I would think in this area, in this city, boy, they deserve a lot more than that. I gotta believe that Stop and Shop could have done better just by connecting to the city and providing, some energy, some magic that would make people want to come to the store, would make them walk into the store. And I often say this, make them hungry and make them smile. And this store really doesn't do either of that. So what would I give this store? Maybe a B-, but I'm a pretty generous grader. And I'm basically grading on a curve, at least in Stop and Shop's case, that it has established. And the lower end of the curve ain't pretty. Anyway, that's what's on my mind. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.